Hello, everyone. Sorry about the wait. We had to getting the internet up. Took a second.
All
right.
Make a cup of tea. So it's
Microphone test. If y'all can hear me talking on the microphone, someone post in chat and let me know, please.
how are you doing?
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
All right, everyone, we're running just a couple minutes behind. We'll be starting any second now. Just hang on, okay?
All right, can you hear me? All right, test, test. All right, welcome everyone. Sorry about the delay. Trying to figure out the hybrid thing's a little bit trickier, but thank you everyone for coming out. It's a nice cool day. It's rare cool day in Texas here. We have today Elizabeth McGreevy here to talk about rewilding Zilker Park, and we are actually at Zilker Park, so it's very appropriate. We will have at the end of the meeting, we also have Paul Robbins who will talk for a few minutes about the natural gas issue, and we also at the end of the meeting, a candidate will have a chance for everyone candidate to announce. Please post in the chat, or if you're here, just like while presenting, just make sure I know who to call. I won't not call, I'll give everyone a chance to talk for sure. But so, and with that, since we're running a little bit behind, I will just hand it over to Elizabeth, and yeah, and I think we'll have, what time is it now? 12:15 probably. So, okay, 12:10. So we'll be about 12:40 if that works. Yeah, cool. So here you go.
A little bit better.
So am I in the frame and the plan?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Bruce. Sorry.
Go ahead. I've got a taser. I'll keep them over here.
Good to see you.
It's the least of your worries.
Again. Again.
that better?
Yeah, see if you
Oh.
don't face it towards the sun.
Tip it toward us. That's even better.
That'd be good. And plus, we can make it available online. Microphone. Not used to talking into microphone. Okay, we're good. So we're here today to talk about rewilding Zilker Park. This was a plan that was requested by the SOS Alliance, specifically Bill Bunch, and supported by the Zilker Neighborhood Association. And Bill came to me because we saw some of the other work being done on Zilker Park wasn't pushing the envelope far enough. So we wanted to push it a little bit further. And he had me come out here, and I spent the whole summer, many days out here in 100-degree temperatures, watching how people are using the spaces and following them. And I eventually was able to start seeing the patterns of the people and the empty spaces, the spaces that were not being used, and yet they're being mowed as if they should be used. And just even where we're sitting right here, the whole time I was out here, I never saw anyone in these spaces. So I started focusing on these unused empty spaces. And what can we do? Well, let's push the envelope and rewild these areas. Now, what is rewilding? And let me just explain is that by 2050, it's projected that at least 70% of people are going to live inside of cities. And the more that we live inside of cities, there seems to be a trend for people to become more biophobic. And what that means is that they're afraid of nature. They become so stuck in the confines of the city that they no longer are embracing nature. When they see a snake, or they see even some kids, when they see butterflies, they get afraid because they're so afraid of the nature. And what this report was saying is that we need to do more things that are biophilic, which is embracing nature. And in cities, one of these things is urban rewilding. Now, you may have heard the term rewilding applied to like Yellowstone National Park, or, these huge wide wilderness areas where you have lions and tigers and bears. Okay, oh my, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about urban rewilding, where the apex predator might be a great horned owl, or a red-shouldered hawk. Excuse me, but it's a embracing of nature, but it's different from reforesting or restoration, because both of those concepts, the humans take the lead. They're the ones that kind of dictate what's going to be here. But when you rewild, you kind of say, okay, this is what we think these areas should be based on my analysis of what nature was telling me. Okay, this is what these areas should be. Then you stop mowing. You may have to do things like restore the soil, add some contour swales, boost the soil biology, do some fire remediation if it's over the landfill. So once you prep it, you step back and then you let nature take the lead. The result is that you get something that's much more sustainable. Anything that nature regrows is going to be more sustainable. It's not going to need supplemental irrigation. It's going to require less effort on our part and less water. You're not going to have, less water, and it's going to improve the situation. Even better is that as these areas rewild and develop, they're going to help to mitigate the urban heat island effect. They're going to decrease erosion. They're going to increase infiltration and groundwater. They will also, as they start to develop and become even more beautiful, initially some of the areas might be a little messy for people. It might look overgrown, but then you put signs around it. You put little fences, explain to people what's going on. And the minute that you explain it, people are like, oh, okay, now we understand it. And so then they can embrace it. And you know, as I was walking around the park, I talked to a lot of people, and especially the younger people, and they all knew what rewilding was. They were excited. I had a lot of people say, please don't do anything to the park. We don't want anything done to this park. But when I explained what we were doing, they were all in support of it. And, you know, there are some examples already in Zilker Park, such as right here along AZ Morton Road. If you go over there, it's a small little area that's already been rewilded. And we talk about this in the presentation in detail. Another area that's already wild, but shows that rewilding, urban rewilding can work with human activities, passive recreation, is the disc golf area. This area over here, the disc golf, weaves in and out of these open woodlands. And it's completely merged with the natural element. And when you talk to people, they love, the people playing disc golf, they love, that's their favorite part of the disc golf, unless they're new and they're throwing their frisbees and they actually need the areas that are a little bit more mowed because they keep losing their frisbees. But the more experienced ones over here, they love, love, love that's integrated with the wild, because they said it enhances their experience at the park. And but besides just enhancing our experience and things like that, I mentioned before about erosion. Now, so besides just letting the unused empty spaces rewild so that at least it can become ecologically functional, right? Is that we have a huge problem. We have Barton Creek and we have Lady Bird Lake. Take a walk from here all the way to here, and along the Butler Trail, and you're going to see enormous amounts of erosion. Some of the tree roots are more than 2 feet in the air. And Dr. Norma Fowler also did a report for SOS, has said that some of the trees are showing signs of toppling over. That becomes also a hazard. And when she's talking about the biggest trees, do we want to lose our bald cypresses? You know, it's like we want to preserve this riparian corridor because that is what is extremely important. The most important thing you can do for water quality protection is to protect that riparian corridor. And right now, that is how wide it is not wide enough. So that's the other part of this plan, is to widen the riparian buffer, because where does erosion start? The erosion doesn't always just start down there at the river. It starts where we're standing. I mean, where we're standing right here, how it's all mowed, when it rains, the water rushes off and goes down here. So by increasing the riparian buffer, you decrease the velocity of that water before it hits the slopes. So then that will decrease erosion, because a lot of the reports being put together so far just talk about treating it at the source, down at the end. We need to treat it at the source where it begins. So as I was doing my site analysis, I had to try to figure out, okay, well, would this have all been like a grassy prairie? Or would it have been more woodland or forest? And one of the things I would do, I would look for key indicator species. Okay, let's see, like, do you see that mountain cedar, also called ash juniper? Do you see its form is a single trunk? Those single trunks always grow up like that within the context of a woodland or forest. In the full sun, they grow as a bush. That means that grew up in a woodland or forest. That one has a 19-inch trunk, which means it's at least 190 years old, possibly as old as 300 years old. That means that was growing here before Mr. Barton started clearing out the forest to provide room for his livestock. That's I call them generically mountain cedars, but yes, ash juniper, Juniper's ashii. Because we're most accustomed to seeing them growing in full sun areas that have been degraded. Eastern red cedars grow a little bit east of here. I've written a whole book on this. Yeah, if you get the leaves under a microscope and you look at the edges, they have serrated tooth edges. That means it's the ash juniper. If it's smooth, it's eastern red cedar.
It's been making me sneeze for almost 6 minutes.
Okay, so anyway, so that was one of the indicator species I looked at. Another thing that's interesting underneath that live oak over here, it's one because its branches come so low. See how they're not mowing under it. So I'm looking for trees like that where they can't mow under it, and I see what's growing up underneath. And we have a whole thicket of western soapberry, which the eastern bluebirds adore. And the soapberry is only going to be coming up where it should be wooded and forested. Also, the other thing is that where we are, the bedrock, we have limestone, you know that, and it's very shallow here. And trees naturally do better on this shallow limestone where it's less than 18 inches deep. So all these things were kind of put together, explained more in this presentation I developed, but those were driving factors that said that, okay, these are the areas that should be more forested. Just even at the main entrance as you pull in, I'm showing a whole forest extension here because I found lots of these mountain cedars and other trees like the soapberries that were much more established, were much older. And so that just told me, and I could see exposed rock. You see that exposed rock, grasses cannot establish on that because their roots just go lateral to the ground instead of going down deep. They can't go deeper. So therefore you need those trees first. Okay, so that was that driving factor. So the dark green here is showing a more forested vegetation. And again, this is more of a prediction of what nature's going to want it to be. This area here would be more of a dense woodland, kind of like what you see over here. Okay, it's like real dense. It's more like a dwarf trees. The trees don't get as big. It's very, very dense. And the way I came up with that is because that's what's right across the street on the exact same soil. So I also was looking at different soil types, what is growing on areas that are all currently wild, what was growing in those areas, and then said, okay, then that would be a good area for it to also be the same kind of forest or woodland. These bright green are showing areas that are adjacent to recreation, that we want to have it be an open woodland where it can have some mowed areas underneath, some picnic tables, maybe more disc golf, things are very compatible. The Zilker train or something like that, can be integrated. So these are very compatible with passive recreation. And look at this, these gray areas show the current 6 soccer fields. So that's 6. So this shows the sensitive scale. A lot of people have said, oh, you're gonna get rid of all of our soccer fields. I'm like, no, they're still there. Here's the sand volleyball, still there. But what we are recommending is to rewild, allow about what's that, about 20%, maybe about 15% of the eastern end of the Great Lawn to rewild to handle all that erosion going on. So that's really is what that's for. It's not like we're trying to take the park away from people. We're trying to protect the park. We're trying to increase its ecological resilience. And this little area here is just a smaller area. And right now it's kind of ugly, just has a big old concrete drain. I said, well, let's turn that into a wetland, so that we can have, things like your swamp milkweeds and make it into a monarch waste station, so we can do all kinds of things like that. And the big area here, though, is the Butler landfill, which for years people have been told it was capped. And when a landfill is capped, you really can't put trees on top of it because then the trees can put their roots down and penetrate the cap, and then that could destroy the integrity of it. And then I talked to Chris Harrington, who was with the city of Austin. He's now moved to Fairfax, Virginia, but he said, no, there is no cap. He says, people keep saying there's a cap, but there actually is no cap, which opens the door to what we can do there. And the current suggestions have been, excavate everything, take it all out, send it off to another landfill. I do not like that at all. And the other recommendation, it's also super expensive. I mean, it's a valid suggestion, but super expensive. And I don't like the idea of just moving it somewhere else. It's the other suggestion, though, is to come in with 3 to 6 feet of soil. But then, yeah, okay, that would work too. But then you have like a giant elephant grave there. It's just this big old weird mound. And it could work. Could definitely be at least rewooded to a degree, but to really do it the right way. And those were the recommendations if there's a cap, right? But because there's no cap, we can do a thing called phytoremediation. And what that is when you come in with specific cultivars of trees, specifically like cottonwoods and black willows, that are bred specifically to handle the kind of leachate. The leachate are like the chemical buildup in the soil. And then you add, you enhance the soil biology to also work with the trees, and it draws up all of the chemicals in the soil and neutralizes the area. Once that's done, then we can allow it to rewild. And this is being done even on Texas Superfund sites, where areas have been full of, petroleum sludge. And I'm like, if it can be done on that, we can do it with this, because this landfill was closed, like 19, yeah, before we had all these weird, things going into our landfill. So it's not a highly toxic landfill. It's totally doable. And that means, when I'm down here, it's just a dust bowl, right? And you're just staring, it's just noisy, you get the noise from Mopac. It is the most underutilized area of the park because of that. The other thing is that the erosion here is also severe. There has been landfill subsidence that's contributing to the erosion, but also the parking lot here. I was telling someone earlier, you can follow the trash trail from here all the way up to the parking lot where there's a culvert. And it's just, the subsidence, it's noticeable. It's really, really bad. So this would help to stabilize the landfill and to increase that riparian buffer to decrease erosion. And a huge chunk of the park, going into a forest would, help mitigate the urban heat island effect. So any questions? The presentation, like, no, don't stop. Okay. Yes.
Basically happy with the part of Zilker that's on the other side of Mopac.
Actually, let's make sure we're getting everyone's remotely participating.
Do we pass this?
Yeah. Okay. So if we're going to do a question, you don't have any more for your presentation, do you? Okay. So if you have a question, come over here so you can speak into the microphone. And then if you're remote and you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat, and that way we can ask it out loud as well. Okay. And here you go.
Yes. Are you basically happy with the part of Zilker that's on the other side of Mopac?
Are you talking about the Austin Nature Center?
Yeah.
For the most part, except they have a tremendous amount of invasive species. But the level of wildness is nice over there, but that whole area is used more for school kids and guided walks. So it's kind of a different use for it. But the main thing I would change over there is that they need to be removing the invasive species, because that's not supporting our local wild,
I have two things. First of all, where does Austin city limits come and destroy everything? And the other thing is, if we just let it go back to nature, how do we deal with KR blue stem everywhere?
Okay, that's two questions. So so ACL, the truth is they've been sprawling all over the place here. They've just been given free rein to go everywhere. And there's no reason why they can't consolidate. If they want to stay here, they need to be able to consolidate and work with the wishes of everyday citizens. ACL, it does cater to outdoor, to people beyond Austin. And so it'd be nice to have a park that kind of finds more of a balance where it supports more of the interests of everyday citizens. But for instance, this area right here under MOPAC, they can use that as a staging area. They can use the parking lot here. What they should not be doing is bleeding onto this side and taking over the entire area. It's there's no reason why they can't consolidate. And I'm sure that the people would also enjoy the extra shade that's being provided by these woodlands. KR, okay. For people who don't know, KR is King Ranch Blue Stem, not native. Yes, that will be a problem. We got lots of Bermuda. We have lots of invasives. When things start rewilding, let's say like KR or Bermuda, they both hate shade. So initially, as an area starts to rewild, you may see a flush of those plants and temporarily. Now, in areas like that have KR, is like if you seed out little areas, little small cluster, you can do clustered plantings and seedings in the rewilding area to boost it, to give it that boost. Since some of these areas have been mowed for so long, it might take longer for them to rewild. And silver blue stem will outcompete KR blue stem to then allow the little blue stem and the to start established. Bermuda again hates shade, so all these areas for the most part are going to be supporting an increase in canopy shade. So the shade itself will start to out. In my own backyard, I've been doing rewilding. So it's been 9 years. When I started, the Bermuda grass went just crazy for 2 years. And now 9 years later, it's all gone. And I did not remove any of it. So you can let nature will win.
You make me want to go back to school to be a botanist or know all of this smart stuff. I wanted to ask about ACL as well, but also where are you at in the process? Has this been presented to the city? Is it been approved? What do we need to do?
Maybe Bill can speak to that.
We have put it into the record, so just everybody should know this was developed in the context of the city's process where they're going through a comprehensive planning process for the whole park. They call it the Zilker Park Vision Plan. There's a website there. So it launched in the summer. It's going through the first part of next year, and there's a whole public input process. They have a survey up right now. And they're at that phase where they're now, after doing a bunch of sort of baseline background input, they're asking people what exactly do you want to see this park look like in the future? And so this was sort of our effort to put this on the table as a major component of the future for the park. So if you go on the website, you can get up to speed on that whole process and answer the survey and engage.
Bill, you mentioned a survey. Where can we find this survey?
Well, the survey is on the city's Zilker Park Vision Plan webpage. I think I said that.
So I have seen the erosion that you're talking about. And if this goes through, how soon after they stop mowing will it stop the erosion?
In the areas where the erosion is worse, like I said, that the Sigler report is recommending to install green infrastructure and infrastructure and maybe lay some erosion fabric, things like that, down along the creeks and rivers. So that is one step there. But like up here, here, let me find like a really good example is like right here, here's a really good example right next to Barton Springs Road, more critical where you have these slopes right before you hit the drop off is that you want to install something called contour swales, which is a very shallow swale and berm system. A lot of ranches are doing this outside of town. And it's a way to capture, and it's installed following the contour. You know, a lot of times these swales are like the direct water, not this one. This one actually is like a linear retention pond. And so you install a few of these in key spots to capture the overland flows upslope. So that is a kind of like an engineered approach that can handle that job of reducing the flows immediately before the vegetation can start to grow up and take over. And, you know, like 5 to 10 years down the road, you won't even see the contour swales, you know, so it's like an initial step. So that would be installed upslope in the most important areas.
So okay, here. In addition to the Bermuda that we're seeing, what are the top invasive species that are here in the park?
The privet, some people call it Japanese ligustrum. It's actually privet everywhere. Oh my gosh, entire forest of it. China berry. It's really bad. A few Chinese pistache I found. You know, sometimes it's hard to differentiate from that soapberry, but that one over there is soapberry, so I'm excited about that. And of course, Nandina, of course, the Bermuda, KR blue stem, Japanese honeysuckle. That's super, super bad. I mean, underneath those beautiful, beautiful, majestic bald cypress trees, it's a mess of invasive species. It is such a shambles. It is horrible, horrible, horrible. I would love to see actually that whole area restored and to get it out, but you can't remove all the invasives at once. So you have to do it like on contour and in swatches. But it's a non-ending process because we live in an urban area where we're surrounded by people who continue to plant these plants. Do I ask a question, Roy?
Yes, thank you. Discussion is going on now, and there are a lot of forces lined up against making this a reality. Not to bash any of our friends and partners, but the Austin Parks Foundation is closely tied with ACL. They could continue that in a different location so that our central park is a park for everyone and not a music or restaurant venue. How do you recommend we go about, I know you're a scientist, but politically speaking, how do we take this science and convert it to something that other groups can support? I know.
Talk enthusiastically. Well, just like this meeting right here and having these, you know, it's so amazing. Thank you for coming, because by increasing your awareness, that's really good. But one of the other things we're talking about that I think would be good would be to team up with some of these other parks, like the Roy Guerrero Park. You know, they're like at the tail end, you know, at the other end, we're kind of like opposing ends here, is to team up with them, team up with other neighborhood associations. Just need to get the word out there and to build more of, I guess, a grassroots effort, build the army, then you can come in and go higher. But also we have been talking about is meeting with politicians and things like that, sitting down and trying to increase the understanding. It's just, you have to kind of come at it from all different angles, really. But I think that this is a fantastic way to start.
Actually, I have a question about, so in the forested areas, are there going to be trails through there? And how do you deal with, you know, when people walk along a path, it tends to wear down the grass? Do you have any thoughts about, like, you know, number of people walking on the trail, how to keep that natural without having erosion from people walking on it?
Yeah, and that is a huge, huge problem with people just trailblazing. So we need to stop the trailblazing. And it just really is as simple as just putting a low fence, because people generally don't step over it. And so be a series of low fences, like there's like little post and rail fence, you know, maybe just this high. It doesn't have to be much. We probably also need to make sure that we do get the park rangers back out here, because a lot of people are letting the dogs off leash. And when dogs are off leash, you know, we do have the Great Lawn where they're allowed to run around, but in these other areas, a dog that gets off leash, you have to run after it. When that means trailblazing to keep up with it. And so trying to keep the dogs on leash where they're meant to be, putting more signs up to explain things, you know, even just sometimes just putting like little identification signs. Oh, this is a this kind of live oak or this kind of tree, or like little signs like that, people start to become more aware of the surroundings. You know, for too long, I don't think that people really, you know, for like hundreds and thousands of years, this was a sacred place because of Barton Springs. It was worshipped by the Native Americans that were here before. And now it's just as party central, you know, we need to bring back that appreciation for the spaces. You know, like you could see, okay, there's a thing called cow trails. And the cow trails, there's one actually that comes right through here, right to the, on the other side of the trash cans there, and then heads right down. You can see where the dirt is all worn down and goes straight down to the pool. So you turn those, you find where those cow trails are, where people kind of naturally congregate, and you emphasize those so people that kind of gets people to stay on them. It's just about wayfinding and setting up trails, and there's like none of that here in the park. And so that needs to become part of the park. Yes.
One of the unappreciated parts of rewilding is non-point source pollution. Does the plan, or have you guys given any thought to removing the curbs, putting the runoff from the roadways? Because all the organic material that falls on the roadways, all of the fallout from the sky, we get nitrogen that comes out of the sky, all sorts of nasty stuff, all goes straight to the creek. Have y'all given any thought to putting that runoff back into the wild where it goes, not only to treat the pollution, but to help irrigate, because it's taken away runoff?
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's why some of the things I was mentioning, like these contour swales, that is one way to sink that water into the ground, because we want the water in the ground. Eventually it can end up, if it ends up at the creek eventually, which it will, that actually ends up sustaining creek flows when it's fed slowly. When it rushes all down at once, it bypasses most of it, ends up in the Gulf of Mexico. But you're right, though. It's like everywhere possible, we need to find ways to sink that water into the ground.
And remove the curbs, because the curbs capture that water.
Well, that was one of the things I had discussed with Bill, is that this part of Lunef Road should be replaced with a permeable surface, and to remove the curbs, and to have like infiltration trenches or something like that just down slope of it to sink that water into the ground. And all these things should be done. There should be a green infrastructure plan for the park, you know, and coupled up with this rewilding plan, I think would be the best way to go. Oh, yes.
Yes, could you talk about how this plan would help with our climate equity plan?
Yeah, just every time that the climate equity plan is proposing to, you know, the city wants to increase the amount of canopy cover. That is a big part of their plan, increase the amount of canopy cover, and that's what we're doing. So the proposal here is to increase it by 21%. Now that might sound like a small amount compared to the size of Austin, but guess what? This is a starting point. We don't stop here. We apply this concept throughout the city, is that you focus on rewilding empty spaces, empty unused spaces, and areas that need erosion control. Those would be really the best approach to doing this, because I think that most people understand the concept. Okay, that's not being used. In fact, the loudest protest to this plan was the Great Lawn, because people are saying, oh, but we're using that, we're using that. No one else really has a problem with rewilding the rest of this, because they understand that this is it's not highly used areas. So this is just like a first step towards supporting the Austin Climate Equity Plan.
What wildlife would this plan attract that's not already there?
It's the thing is that it's going to attract. There's already is a good variety, a good diversity of wildlife in the park. I've already looked at like bird surveys and things like that. We do have great horned owls. We do have red-shouldered hawks. We do have some ospreys and things like that, which in a wild area, that's what you want to focus on, or what are the predators. But do we have a lot of pollinators? No. In fact, that's why I said we need like a monarch way station. There, we hear some birds, but they're mostly, that's a blue jay. That's an urban bird that loves mowed areas. So we want to get more of your more elusive birds, like the painted buntings. That's what I would love to see more of. I love those. And is that you get more of these more elusive species. The Austin Nature Center, of course, has the most variety and diversity of wildlife, but these other areas don't because it's so fragmented. And so the other purpose of these open woodlands is to create corridors for the wildlife to move around. So this makes it so it's not as fragmented, and that's going to boost their numbers and enhance the wildlife habitat. So it's not like we're expecting, oh, all this like, you know, black bears are coming back, but I don't think they'll ever make it to Zilker Park, but is that it's more or less about enhancing and increasing the diversity and the numbers. But I would really like to also see it boost the number of pollinators, because this mowed area is not friendly to like ground nesting bees, which are primary pollinators and things like that. So by reducing the mowing, it's going to definitely support our pollinators.
And then last question or comment, and then we're going to move on. So.
Yeah, I'll just keep it real quick. Bill Bunch with Save Our Springs again. Thank you so much for doing this for us, Elizabeth. I just real quickly, since it's a political group, this rewilding plan is in a larger context of some real political battles that are happening in Austin, and mostly kind of below radar. One of them is the push to privatize our parks and hand them over for management to private conservancies, which then have sort of a fundraising mandate that pushes them to want to commercialize our parks. So for example, there's a push to have a big beer garden here, to keep the illegal parking lot that ACL put on the Butler landfill that's there, still there today, to maintain that and perhaps even expand it. There's a proposal to extend a road, Toomey Road, across Barton Creek with another bridge, and so that there could be some more development here. And so that's a larger context of, you know, what are our parks supposed to serve for our people? And the surveys the Parks Department has gotten is that people overwhelmingly want their parks to be natural, and they want trails and water features. They're not asking for restaurants or beer gardens or other developed, structured, you know, playgrounds and that sort of thing. That's not what they want. But that's what our political system is delivering to us right now. So that's it. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
I try to
this
keep.
is-
I know people are on lunch hour, so 1 o'clock.
Okay, this is Mary Ann Neely. Can I
Mary
have
Ann,
a question?
Sorry,
Hello?
we have to move on, Mary Ann.
Just
so-
one quick question.
Sorry, man. You can ask after the meeting. I'm sorry. But
Okay.
I want to make sure candidates have time to talk at the end, and then we also have Paul Robbins here to speak for a few minutes about
Okay.
a natural gas issue. So, Paul, can you do you want to come up?
Thank you so much for what she's done. It's just been great. Thank you.
Hi, for the few of you that here that don't know me, I will. For the few of, can you hear me? For
Yes.
the few of you that don't know me, I'm Paul Robbins. I'm an environmental activist and consumer advocate. Greenwashing is an advertising that technique that went viral in the 1990s. It puts a green veneer on things that have no value to the environment or that are actually against the environment. Your gas company, Texas Gas Service, is spending almost $2 million a year, or about $8 per residential customer, on greenwashed conservation. For example, and I kid you not, they will give you as much as $325 to put in a gas dryer that will save $1.31 a year. That's a 248-year payback. 280 if you add their administrative costs, but then who's counting? So I would like to ask that Austin take this wasted money and put it to some useful purposes. And this would include assistance to the poor, renewable energy research, or just give it back to the ratepayers who could probably spend it better than giving a rebate that saves $1.31 a year. And there are several things that you all as a group or as individuals could do. One of them would be to pass a resolution similar to what the Sierra Club of Austin has just done, to ask City Council to repurpose this money for energy conservation to more useful purposes, such as assistance to the poor, renewable energy, or reimbursement to the ratepayers. Please understand, I'm a champion of conservation. I hate greenwashing programs. Second, if you have a spare minute, you could write this city council or call them up and ask them for a hearing on this issue. There was going to be a rate hearing November 18th, but our city staff is trying to keep the council from hearing it. And third, if you want more information, I wrote a report. Greenwashing is not a solution, and I'd be happy to email it to any of you that really want to learn more. So this concludes my brief presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Roy.
Paul, is there a way for us to contact all city council members at the same time?
Yeah. Thank you for answering. Thank you for asking and answering that. Yes, if you write mayor and council and send it to adler@austintexas.gov, it will reach all of them. They will circulate it to all the offices. Again, I'm going to circulate this tablet, and I won't feel upset if you don't want to receive this report, but if you do, I'll be happy to send it. As someone who's worked on conservation issues for the last 44 years, this is really galling. And, you know, I've come to respect the gas company as pirates. I've just, you know, I've quit getting quite as angry. The way I think about them, and this is what pirates do. And hey, you know, it keeps me from staying up too many nights. But what's galling is that the city staff continues to let this happen. I honestly respect the pirates more than I respect the city staff at this point.
Do you have anything we need to move on?
Is there any other? Are there any other questions?
Let's see. We can talk to you after. We need to move on. I want to give candidates time to speak. I'm sorry. So what we'll do is I'll have a timer on my home phone to give each candidate 30 seconds. If the candidates that are in person would like to come over here, we'll go down and do the in-person candidates, and then we'll do remote. And please post in the chat if you would like to speak as a candidate. And everyone will have 30 seconds. And okay, and I'll just pass it along.
Am I looking into this?
It'll go on.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Laura Iserloh. I'm running for the new Civil District Court, the 455th. It's a brand new court. Currently, there's a conservative Republican on that court, but I'm hoping that he will be gone. The election for the Democratic primaries in March, as far as we know, with redistricting. I would very much appreciate your support. I'm a 28-year trial attorney, member of the American Board of Trial Advocates, proud member of the Austin Environmental Democrats, and endorsed by a number of folks in town. Again, Laurie Iserloh, running for the new 455th Civil District Court.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Tell me when. My name is Mariana Espiritu. I am running for Travis County Court at Law number 5. That is Judge Hohengarten's current bench. She's retiring after her term. I have been a lawyer for a long time. I graduated law school in 1995, but honestly, these are just words that I think because I have been in your exact seats as a club member, that I think that you should weigh all candidates based on our actions, not just our words. And I think I'm out of time, but MarianneForJudge.com, please look at what I've done for our community and for the criminal justice system. Thank you.
Before you start my time, I do want to thank Elizabeth. You had mentioned Native Americans who are part of this land, and that's the type of land acknowledgement that creates inclusivity, equity, and belonging. I just really want to thank you for that in your presentation. And any way I can help, I want to know how I can help. My name is Denise Hernandez. I am running to be the first openly gay Latina judge to serve County Court at Law number 6. I have 30 seconds, so I'll give you some quick tidbits. I've been working on social justice and equity in Travis County for many, many years. I've been mentoring marginalized students for over 15 years because I've been directly impacted and learned firsthand the disproportionate impacts of our legal system. And I'm ready for change. And I'm ready that together we can create change. And so I ask you to learn more about me at VoteDeniseForJudge.com, and I hope to gain your support. Thank you.
Have any other candidates? If not, we don't have any posted, but Jessica, can you, okay, so I think first we're gonna have Leslie Boykin. I see you here on the chat. Can you turn the volume? Is the volume all the way up? Okay, and I'll make sure, let's start talking and make sure we can hear you. I don't want to start till we can make sure we can actually hear you.
Hi, everyone. Can y'all hear me? I wish I was there. It looks beautiful.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Well, let's wait a few seconds for the plane to pass.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna give it a few seconds while the plane's passing. We do have an announcement here that AD is a sponsor of the virtual trash makeover challenge. That's going to be on Saturday, November 13th from 7 to 8:30. We have flyers over here and we can post information on the Facebook about that. And I think the plane is passed, so I will turn it back.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Okay. And then now it's Leslie.
Great. Thank you for your consideration. I'm Leslie Boykin. I'm running for Travis County Court at Law number 6. And I love Elizabeth McGreevy. She's one of my longtime friends. I've been a criminal defense attorney for almost 17 years, and tomorrow will be my 17th year anniversary. But I'm running for Court 6 because I would like to continue Project Engage to save youthful offenders from getting a conviction. I got the Austin Young Lawyers Mentorship Award in 2020 because of all the young lawyers that I've mentored in the 17 years I've practiced criminal defense. I have a couple of other new ideas. Please come to my kickoff party next Wednesday, November 10th at 5:30. It's at One in a Million. And the band that I managed in law school is going to play, and we're going to have great food and drinks. And I'd love to talk to you about my ideas. LeslieForJudge.com. Thanks so much. Thank you for the time.
Okay. And next we'll have Daniela DeSeta Little. Sorry, I probably mispronounced that, but yeah.
I don't know. That's okay. Hi. And you said we have 30 seconds, right?
Yes. And I'll start that right now.
Okay, thank you. My name is Daniela DeSeta Lytle, and I'm running to be the first immigrant and the first female veteran to ever serve in a civil district court. I'm running for the 261st District Court. It's an open seat due to the judge announcing her retirement. As mentioned, I'm an immigrant. I am a veteran. I served in the Army as a medic. I'm an award-winning attorney that has been helping the most vulnerable here in Travis County for well over a decade. And I've built an award-winning law firm to help our community. All of my work is relevant, current, and from right here in Travis County, the only place where I've ever practiced. You can learn more about me at danielaforjudge.com. And thank you for the time. It's lovely to see you guys.
Okay. All right. And next we'll have Chantal Aldridge. Okay.
Hi, everyone. It's very nice to see you. I am your judge of the 331st District Court, and I am running for re-election. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there in person, but we were scheduled to have my first jury trial back for the last year and a half, and I found out during the meeting that it has settled. So I'm disappointed that I couldn't actually be there in person, and I missed it for that reason, but I will be at the next one. Anyway, just want to refresh your recollection who I am. I am your judge of the 331st, and I would like to stay that way. I hope to have your support. I will see you at the next meeting.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll have Craig Moore.
Thanks, Tim. Hello, everyone. Craig Moore. I am running for the 403rd District Court. Brenda Kennedy is the current judge, and she has announced her retirement. And I am excited and honored and powered up to run for this particular bench. This is one of our criminal district courts. I've been a criminal lawyer for 17 years. Actually, 14 years. I've been a lawyer for 17 years and practicing criminal law for 14 years. I worked in the district attorney's office. I managed several diversion programs focusing on substance use and mental health. Right now, I am teaching at St. Edward's University. I teach criminal law. And I'm also working on my PhD in criminal justice. I'm a community advocate. Okay. I'm a former precinct chair. I'm an immediate past president of the Black Austin Democrats. www.craigforjudge.com is my website. I'm having an event on November 16th at Love Supreme. You all are invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Dimple Malhotra, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, and please speak up.
All right, I will do that. Thank you so much. Everyone, I'm Judge Dimple Malhotra, and I preside over County Court at Law 4. It's our domestic violence court in Travis County. I have done domestic violence work for over 20 years now. This court was created over 2 decades ago, and the idea was to have a specialized court with a judge who thoroughly understood the dynamics of domestic violence. I've devoted my entire career to this field. I was the head of this county's family violence unit for over a decade and the head of Travis County's Protective Order Division. This is an extremely important court, and it is very, very crucial that we keep someone in this court who has a deep understanding of the nuances of these cases. Please learn more about me at judgedimple.com. I also want to mention I'm the first elected South Asian judge in Travis County history and the first Asian female judge in this county's history. And that's something I'm very proud of because I came to this country as a very young child from India. So I'm happy to see everyone here today, and my website is in the chat. Thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you. I believe that is all our candidates. Please post in the chat. We did not call you, but we'll just do outside announcements real quick, and I'll get back to any candidates if anyone was missed. And Roy, you had an announcement?
Yes, I do. Our friend David Foster is riding off into the sunset at the end of this year, but he's going to have one last Clean Water Action fundraiser, and he's not taking the money. He's leaving it. It's not his retirement fund, but one last fundraiser at Bar Mansion on November 17th from 5 to 8. So everyone, please show up and say adios to David. Thanks.
Okay, great. And were there any other candidates in the chat? Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming. And sorry if there were technical issues. We will work on those. We probably will continue to do in person. I think I like this location a lot, so I think we'll continue to do this location, an outside environment. Hopefully the weather stays cooperative, but a little more sun, yeah, would be nice. So if you had any issues with the Zoom, please let us know. You know, we want to make sure it's friendly for everyone, and we'll try to. Also, I know a couple of people said that they didn't get great notice about it being in person, so we'll try to be better about that. But just in general, going forward, we're going to be hybrid until further notice, unless there's like another huge spike in COVID or COVID magically goes away. But I'm not Donald Trump, so I don't think COVID will magically go away. So thank you everyone for attending, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, I have a quick question, and that is, this was wonderful what you presented. Is there a way that we can send that to our members so that they can be sending them to our members?
Are you talking about the video or the information?
Both.
Yes, we can do both. The video is recorded. We're going to put it on Facebook. We can send the link out. And we're also going to be sending out a copy of the Rewilding Zilker Park image that she used for her presentation along with her report.
Thank you so much. I thought it was great. Thank you so much for getting that.
Of course. All
Okay.
right.
See you
Thanks,
later.
everyone. We're going to call it a day.
Okay,
Bye.
take
Y'all
care.
take care. Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend.